I realize that this video is probably a little too late to help with your question, but hopefully if others have similar questions, this might be useful. So to start, let's kind of draw a tree diagram that covers all the possible situations. So first of all, there's the choice between whether you work or don't work. And that's the same choice as like whether you study or don't study. And then there's the option of getting a good grade, getting a bad grade for both of those scenarios. So let's label that first of all. Okay. So this branch point is you work or you don't work. And then if you work, then you're not studying. And if you don't work, then you are studying, right? And they actually give you probabilities for this. There's a 25% chance that you will work. 25% is the same as 1/4. So I'll put it as a fraction because that makes it easier to multiply, which we will need to do later on. So there's a 1/4 chance that you're working. And there are only two options. Either you are working or you aren't working. And so the total probability has to add up to 100% or 1. So the other thing, not working, has to be 3/4 because 1/4 plus 3/4 is equal to 1, right? Then at this branch point, this is a probability that you're working and you get a good grade, right? And then this is the probability that you're working and you get a bad grade. This one is a probability that you're not working and you get a good grade. And then this is the probability that you're not working and you get a bad grade, right? Now, to figure out the probability that you're working and you get a good grade, you have to multiply the 1/4, which is the probability that you're working, right? And multiply that by the probability that you're getting a good grade in this situation. So it says that if you don't study, which is the same thing as saying if you're working, you have a 30% chance of earning a good grade. So you take that 1/4 and you multiply it by 30%, which is 3/10, right? And then in this case, you take that 1/4 and you multiply it by 7/10. And the reason we're doing that is that, again, either you get a good grade or you get a bad grade. So those are your only two options, so they have to add up to 100%. If this is 3/10, this has to be 7/10 so that it adds up to 1. And then following the same reasoning here, this is 3/4 and this is 3/4. And it says that if you do study, then you have an 80% chance of getting a good grade, which is 8 out of 10. And if this is 8 out of 10, this has to be 2 out of 10, following the same reasoning as before. It has to add up to 1. So you can multiply all of these, but you actually only need a few of them. You only need the situations where you end up with a good grade. So you need to figure out this one, and then you need to add them up, right? So 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 10 is 40. 3 times 8 is 24. And 4 times 10 is 40. And then 3 plus 24 is equal to 27. So your answer would be 27 over 40. And like you should probably convert that into a decimal and then convert that into a percentage. So if you type 27 divided by 4 into your calculator, you get 0.675, which is 67.5%. And I got this percentage by multiplying by 100. And a way of checking your answer is by figuring out the probability that you get a bad grade and then adding it to this 27 over 40 and then seeing that the two things add up to 100%. Because if they do, then that means that you did everything correctly because you've accounted for every single possibility. So 1 times 7 is 7 over 4 times 10, 40 again. And then 3 times 2 is 6 over 4 times 10, which is 40 again. 7 plus 6 is 13, so 13 out of 40. And then 13 out of 40 plus 27 over 40 is equal to 40 over 40, which is 1 or 100%. And then finally, one last thing. You can, in most cases, I would cancel the 8 and the 4 during this step, but since we're adding later on anyways, and you want to, it's like easier to add when you have a common denominator, it doesn't really make sense to cancel in this case. But in most cases, you would cancel. Or you could even do that beforehand by writing 8 over 10 as 4/5 and then 2 over 10 as 1/5. I hope this helped.